I'm in Gir in Gujarat in the shadow of the mighty Girnar range. This dry deciduous forest also has riverine patches and is home to 7 rivers. It really is the catchment area for this drought-prone region. And the reason that this forest exists is because of its apex predator, the mighty, wonderful Asiatic lion. This is its last home, its last stand, and really this is the last living population. In the last few weeks of September, up until the 2nd of October, 23 lions from one single range in Gir died. The presence of canine distemper virus was detected. This is a terrible virus. If an animal contracts it, death is 99%. The big fight and conundrum between wildlife experts, biologists, politicians on both sides of the spectrum is this: why cannot a small population of this animal be moved to another area with enough of a geographical distance that if a disaster like this canine distemper virus gets hold of the population, there is at least hope for the fact that there is another population a good distance away that will not contract this disease. It has been a political tussle, it's been a wrangle, there's been a he said, she said on both sides. Everyone is pointing fingers at everybody and none of it is clear. On the outskirts of the Gir National Park in Gujarat, a leopard scuttles into the brush. Watching the spotted golden body undulate with the grass, I wonder if the health crisis that has struck lions in this park might hit other animals. Then I thought leopards eat dogs all the time, and also if they did get sick, they would go to some isolated spot to hide and then die and probably go undetected. This might have been the case if the dead animals in Gir had not been lions. Being social animals living in a pride, Gir lions transferred the disease amongst themselves in a pride very quickly, becoming sick and dying.
Amongst all large cats, lions are pride-loving. They live in large groups called as prides, because of which when an animal if they were to attack a cattle or any other wild prey, the entire pride feeds together, which means there is huge amount of exchange of body fluids between the animals as they feed, and also when they lick each other, there is a huge rate of transmission of pathogens from one animal to another. Tigers and leopards are solitary animals, so even if a particular tiger gets infected, there is less likelihood that it will spread into the entire population, whereas lions move in large groups, and also they live in human-dominated landscapes in Gujarat. So when they kill cows or buffaloes outside the protected areas, and when they finish eating for the first time, the same animal, that's the herbivore, is fed upon by other carnivores like jackals, like hyenas, and also feral and domestic dogs. So there is a high chance of movement of or transfer of this particular virus from canids onto lions.
Gir is a dry deciduous forest with riverine patches. The Girnar and Gir range preside over this forest, and this land is the catchment area for 7 rivers. Based in Saurashtra, perhaps one of the most drought-prone areas in India, this forest and its lions provide an invaluable natural service. The death of the 23 lions of one pride from the Dalkania range rang alarm bells loudly in the conservation community that has been long divided on the hot-button topic of how to steer the future of the lions. Modern lions are thought to have originated around 124,000 years ago in eastern and southern Africa. They then spread through most of Africa and from there into southern Europe, the Middle East, the South Caucasus, southern Russia, southern Afghanistan, and the Indian subcontinent. Today, except for the African lions in Africa, the only population left of lions anywhere outside of Africa are the Asiatic lions in Gir in Gujarat. In the mid-1800s, with just a few dozen animals left in the forests of Junagadh, that was the hunting grounds of the then Nawab of Junagadh, the Nawab decided to protect them instead. Today, an official census conducted in 2015 puts their number at 523. 500 now with the death of 23 lions, but it is widely believed that there are well over 600 lions in Gujarat.
You see that 523 is the last official census in 2015, and during this our 8-day screening operation we have observed around 600 lions, but we don't call it a census, but we have dropped the figure that it is around 600. So the people should know that lion population is increasing.
More than half these lions are found outside of the Gir forests and have moved across 20,000 square kilometers of Gujarat, even being spotted on the coast. 5 of the dead lions tested positive for the canine distemper virus. Many of the others showed signs of protozoan infection and babesiosis, a tick infection. On the 15th of October, one other lion was found dead in a farmer's field. So far, the Forest Department has said that this death is natural, but the samples of the dead lion have been sent for analysis. After the death of the first 23 lions, 36 lions were rounded up from the surrounding areas and taken to several rescue centers where they are being kept in isolation and under watch. 21 of 27 samples of these lions sent to the Indian Council for Medical Research has come back positive for the canine distemper virus. The ICMR put out a public statement saying that the lions should be immediately vaccinated with the available vaccine for CDV. Since CDV is transmitted by airborne route as well as infected body secretions, healthy lions from the Gir forest may be shifted to an alternative, suitable location. The Forest Department had procured 300 vials of the canine distemper virus vaccine from the United States and had already vaccinated the isolated lions.
You see, first we rescued whatever the animals were there in particular area, that is Sarasya Vedi. We have shifted them to our Jasadar Rescue Center, and as a precautionary measure, from the surrounding area we rescued more 33 lions just to check their health and to keep them observation. They are in isolation in our Jamwala Rescue Center, and 2 are there at Babarkot in Amreli district. First lions were captured on 26th night. Since then they are on 27th we had captured certain and so on. So they are still under observation. We have sent their blood reports, swab reports, etc. to the different laboratories throughout India, and we are waiting for their reports. Once their reports comes, we will consult the veterinarians, experts, and then we will decide where to release and how to release.
They have, however, so far not accepted the ICMR report, and the Chief Minister of Gujarat, Mr. Vijay Rupani, has categorically refused the translocation. The Forest Department also insists that while the situation is serious, that it's under control.
This entire episode is located, it is totally a localized problem located in our Dalkhania's range, Sarasya Vedi, which is known as. It is only 25 square kilometer area out of 22,000 square kilometer area where lion is populated. Outside the Gir National Park.
But on the issue of relocation, the answer was non-committal.
Translocation is presently, the case is going in Supreme Court, so I will not comment upon it. That is a sub judice matter.
Experts and biologists have used this canine distemper virus as an example to say that this was predicted and it's a disaster and that the translocation must happen. The idea of relocating the Gir lions was first put forward in the early 1900s. But the first relocation, which happened in the 1950s to the Chandraprabha sanctuary in Uttar Pradesh, was quite a failure. The animals that were moved to Chandraprabha did adapt and did breed, but the problem was that they came into conflict with people, and within a few years the entire pride vanished. This has been something that Gujarat uses as an excuse for not translocating the lions. In the early 90s, very experienced biologists who studied the lions and the area said that translocation was key. It was based on the all the eggs in one basket theory. Biologists who studied the lions said that moving some of these lions out of Gujarat in the case of an extension level event would be prudent.
It's a clear strategy to mitigate risk. Gujarat, the people of Gujarat, the government of Gujarat, the Forest Department of Gujarat have done a tremendous job in conserving and enabling the population of the lions to grow. It is rumored that the current population may be even as high as 700, but the fact is the success also needs to be managed. If all your eggs are in one basket, it is very, very risky, and it is only following credible principles of conservation science that we need to mitigate this risk by establishing additional populations.
The only benefit of having a separate population is that if all of Gujarat gets infected by this, you have a separate population of lions, and subsequently you could bring the lion back from the brink of extinction if everything is wiped out. The chances of that is low, because in Gujarat itself there are populations which are sitting far away from Gir. So there are lions in Bhavnagar, in Amreli, and they are nearly 200 kilometers away from Gir population. So you have different populations there. However, there is no harm, and a lion doesn't belong to a particular state. This is the argument, and mostly if you talk to a lot of people within the system in Gujarat, they're very, very vocal about and also possessive about this animal, which I feel is immature on their part. Lion first belongs to this planet, and we must do everything that is possible to secure the future of this species, even if it means taking it to some other state.
In defense of the relocation argument, the CDV, which has killed the lions recently, can be extremely potent. In the 1950s, CDV swept through the lions in the Serengeti and killed 1,000 lions before it was controlled. However, Gujarat has dug its heels in, refusing to move the lions.
Theoretically, as many as possible homes, different homes for any species, long-term survival of any species are desired, provided all homes are ideal and safe. Unfortunately, right now there is no other safe and ideal home except in Gujarat, and not all the places in Gujarat, only some places in South Saurashtra are good enough for lions, because in this highly populated, human populated habitats, these habitations, role of people is very important. If they do not accept any wildlife, it is very difficult for its survival.
The case was introduced in the Supreme Court in 2004, and the court in 2013 ordered that some of the lions be moved out of Gujarat to Kuno in Madhya Pradesh. Gujarat has expressed concern over Kuno, saying that it is a tiger-dominated territory. While hundreds of years ago lions and tigers might have been found in the same areas, these areas would have been vast tracts of forests with hardly any human interference, allowing the cats to avoid each other. Both are apex predators and territorial, and clashes are inevitable.
If we recollect the case, it was some 18-20 years old case, and many things were discussed. The court felt that there are some reasons for translocating some lions. Personally, I don't mind if a few pairs are shifted to Madhya Pradesh or any other area which is safe. At this time, Kuno is, I strongly feel that Kuno is a very wrong selection of choice, because it is live corridor of tiger. National Tiger Conservation Authority, NTCA, it is a statutory board authority. It has twice in past, in 2008 and then in 2010, has opined that Kuno should be preserved and developed for tigers.
With the lions, Gujarat has always had a very proprietary air and have not been forthcoming with information.
I have been working very closely with the Forest Department, and I have somehow, the feeling is that the transparency that is needed for needed in the government, that is in the forest department, is not there. So a lot of information that's there with certain officers is not readily available to people. Even NGOs are working very closely and in tandem with the forest department. So the fear is that if there is no transparency, you will obviously not be able to take help from outsiders, and that's when you are hit by something like this, where you are running helter-skelter. You have no solutions, because probably information from other sick animals, and there have been cases where a sick animal has been found inside the park, it has been quarantined, and they have found that the animal was carrying the CDV, but that is not made public. Once you falter on that part, a situation like this, where an entire pride is wiped off and you don't know how many animals are going to die in the future, will hit you on your face.
With over half their lions actually outside of the Gir National Park and Sanctuary area, there are several challenges for the Gujarat government. Lions outside of Gir are in human-dominated landscapes. While there is a culture of tolerance amongst the people of Gujarat, in many areas where the lions have suddenly appeared, many of the local people, unlike the Maldaris in Gir, do not have a sustained or historical understanding of the big cat. The Asiatic lion, unlike their African counterparts, have no real history of killing people. But even so, it takes a lot of tolerance to loose cattle. But enforced and prolonged contact and disturbance with humans can trigger any big carnivore. When 3 people were killed in 2016, the Forest Department had to move out 18 lions of the pride that were seen as responsible. Most of the areas the lions have now colonized are revenue lands, and there is no clear management protocol involved. While cattle compensation is paid out for cattle kills, no rules of the national park exist here. An unsavory practice called lion shows has been sprouting up. This involves the farmer baiting the lions in with a carcass, then calling local tourists to come and see them, and charges them money for this. For many farmers, interestingly, the presence of lions has worked out well. The lions kill and eat wild boar and blue bull, 2 of the most common animals that ruin crop fields. With lions in the vicinity, this depredation has reduced.
You see, there is a beautiful balance, which we call a coexistence with lions and man. And lions are beneficial in a way that they are controlling the population of blue bull, which are harmful to the farmers. So, as blue bulls do their crop raiding, so they are lions are killing blue bulls, they are controlling their population, and in a way helping to the farmers and local population.
If Gujarat wants to celebrate the success of its lion protection, a clear protocol and protection mandate must be in place for the wandering lions. There are also other dangers facing this population. In 2015, 10 lions were killed in a flash flood. Between 2014 and 2016, 32 lions died from being killed on roads, falling into open wells, and being knocked down by trains. 25 lions died unnaturally, in that their death was also accidental in 2017. Several die from infighting or fighting for dominance in territory. This is natural cycle with big cats. When an adult male becomes too old or too weak to run a pride, he will be challenged by incoming males. He might be injured or killed, and the incoming male will kill living small cubs in order to bring the lionesses into heat and mate and produce his own cubs. This is done to ensure the progress of the best genes. This raises another question, one that Gujarat is very concerned about. Once a certain number of lions are translocated to Kuno, Gujarat asks what happens if the population needs to grow, because then every 3 to 5 years a new male will have to be brought in from Gujarat to keep the population going. This, Gujarat has said, is unacceptable. But experts have said that the reason for the translocation is this genetic inbreeding argument. If populations are isolated geographically, over a time a certain amount of inbreeding can be stopped. While there's concern that these animals are quite inbred, many experts do believe that this does not prevent them from breeding properly, or the fact that the population has actually been increasing over the years is a good sign that the inbreeding hasn't led to either birth defects or low cub mortality rates, or even infertility. What it does draw a concern from is, however, is the immunity system of these animals being compromised. Coming up, how the lions of Gir are appreciated by the local people.
हमारे को यहाँ बहुत रोजगारी मिलती है।
लायन हमारी जान है।
If there is one huge positive for the lions, especially in Gir, it is the local support they enjoy. For the town of Sashan, the lions are their biggest gift.
यहाँ की जो लोकल पब्लिक है, सबका मान लो सबका जो है रोजी रोटी लायन के ऊपर ही है, सब लोगों का। यहाँ पे मिनिमम हो गया तो 400 से 500 घर जो चलते हैं वो लायन के हिसाब से ही चलते हैं।
मैं राजकोट से टैक्सी का ट्रैवल्स का धंधा है मेरा, मगर हमारे को यहाँ बहुत रोजगारी मिलती है यहाँ शासन गिर की वजह से, क्योंकि टूरिस्ट लोग आते हैं वो पहले राजकोट ही आएंगे और लायन शो के लिए हमारा गाड़ी हायर करेंगे और वो सब लोग यहाँ जितने भी रास्ते पे आपको होटल्स मिलेंगे, जो भी कुछ मिलेगा, कुछ ना कुछ मिलेगा, उसका धंधा शासन गिर की वजह से ही चलता है।
यहाँ हमारा क्या है, ये तो एक तो जंगल है,
दूसरा कोई
इसीलिए कोई उद्योग हो नहीं सकता है। यहाँ खेती बाड़ी किसी के पास नहीं है। पूरे गांव में 5000 की बस्ती है, वो पूरे सब यही टूरिज्म पे डिपेंड करते हैं लाइन के हिसाब से। कोई होटलों में काम करता है, कोई गाइड में काम करता है, कोई के पास जिप्सी है, कोई के पास पान का गल्ला है, कोई के पास ये है टूरिज्म के। ये 15 जून से क्लोज होता है, 16 अक्टूबर को स्टार्ट होता है। हम 8 महीने में पूरा 12 महीने का रोजी रोटी यहाँ कमाते हैं।
बस वही हमारा फायदा है।
हमारा ये लाइन तो हमारा पूरा परिवार की तरह ही है।
लाइन हमारी जान है।
One really hopes that the crisis is past and that there will be no more dead lions and that the ones that have been isolated will be released soon to go back to their wild lives. While the lions are Gujarat's pride, it is imperative that all of us do the best that we can to ensure the future survival of this species. In Gir, with camera person Pooja Arya, this is Swati Tyagarajan for NDTV.